Yeah, dude. I appreciate you coming on. First of all, I know you're in Guatemala, so you probably have a very hectic schedule, very hectic lifestyle right now. So I appreciate you making the time. Um, I know
Yeah, man, my pleasure.
we met back in all the way in June and at the tattoo shop, and I never said to you like how awesome I thought your neck tattoo was. Like I was so caught up in like shooting and stuff, but like I was like, dude, that guy's got a sick neck tattoo. Like
Thanks, man.
I fucking when did you get that?
I got this like 4 years ago, and it goes like all the way down.
Oh
So it's
shit,
like, yeah. So
that's
it's
fucking
kind of a
awesome,
big,
dude. So
yeah.
you got that at the that tattoo shop?
No, actually, I got this buddy of mine. I had the centerpiece here, and then he came and did the other part. But
Fuck yeah.
yeah, yeah. This was
Is
the worst. This was like hour four, and I got my head off the
yeah.
table.
Jeez.
Yeah.
What's the meaning behind it? If there's any meaning
Yeah,
of
no,
it?
it's a good question. For me, it's like I see it more as like a power totem versus like a vanity piece. I see it more like the bridge between, kind of like the roots of a tree reach, and then the tops of the tree reach the heavens. The same thing with our bodies. There's a piece over my heart that's kind of like that's the center. So it kind of keeps me grounded and reminds me of my divinity in a way, you know?
That's fucking
So
sick. I want
thanks.
to get tattoos. I don't have any right now. I'm kind of waiting to move out
Yeah.
because my parents would beat me to a pulp if I ever showed up with a tattoo. But yeah, I'd love to get one. Especially, I just think I don't know, doing more creative work in this
Yeah.
field has opened me up to tattoos more in a weird way. It's kind of like showed me that yeah, you can express yourself through tattoos. Like I kind of had a different perspective on it because I was raised a certain way, like oh don't tattoo yourself, blah blah blah. But once I saw more people that do this stuff, like having tattoos and like their meanings behind it, I don't know, it just kind of like inspired me to get one too because I think it's a way of expression, just like all this stuff is, right?
Totally. Totally. And I
So
remember early on, I got like a little tattoo on my finger, and I was like, they say like hand tattoos are career enders. I was like, if it's a career that it ends with tattoos, I don't want it. And
yeah.
so in this industry, I mean, people are fucking way more tatted than I am, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I think, I've seen people like doing even the videography stuff, one man band stuff, but also the film set work. Like everyone, it's accepted nowadays. So
Yeah,
yeah,
totally.
definitely looking to get one sometime soon. But I just wanted to know, you're in Guatemala right now. You said you're on a job. Can you just go into depth on like what you're actually doing there? What the job is and how your experience has been?
Totally. So I actually just got hired to be artistic director at this musical retreat center. And what that means is basically I'm in control of the creative imagery, whether that's photos or videos. We also are doing, since we're a musical retreat center, we have a studio, musicians come, they have like their residency. And then we also do these like little tiny desk style multicam shoots. And so I've just knocked out three of those last week, three different bands. We had 8 cameras, and yeah, that was all me for that. So
That's fucking
yeah,
crazy. What, you
yeah, it
eight
was crazy.
cameras and they're all
Yeah,
yours
dude.
or
Yeah.
fuck?
So I know that's what I'm saying. Like being a one man band, like going from like working in productions of like maybe 100 people on set to like, or at least 10 to 15 to 50 or something, but to like completely one man band, 8 cameras was a lot. But
What cameras were they?
so FX3 was the main camera. A7S3 was the second camera, and then there's these two like Nevos that are 4K, and then we had three additional like 1080 cameras. So like just using for like just like 5% of the time, the close up of the drummer as he's doing the fills, or like the close up of the keys or whatever. So
Gotcha.
yeah,
So was that like how do you manage all of those cameras at once? Do you have like because I know I'm very like unversed in it. I think it's called like a video village where you have all of the displays up. Like how do
right,
you know
right.
do you not have that? You just kind of like looking at each display?
Well, this is a really good question. So basically, everything was locked off, meaning on sticks, on tripods, or
Hmm.
something, except for one camera. I had the 70 to 200, And so I was just zooming in. I had a fluid head tripod, and I'm just getting those like really tight details of like expressions or the fingers or the guitar or whatever. And so Video Village would be like the place where we'd see all the shots all at once, right? What I had was an iPad Pro hooked up to the two to CD, Charlie Delta camera, CD camera, and then EFG. So I had all five of those on the iPad Pro like this. And then I could look through the viewfinder or the screen on the main camera. And then I'd have to kind of sneak around and make sure the other one looked good too. But yeah, it was a lot. Tony, I don't want to do it like this again. I want at least one other operator. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
So
I could only imagine how that stressful that could be. How much
yeah.
time do you have to set up before like you start rolling?
Well, the first band we had ample time. I'm setting up all the cameras. I'm setting up the lighting, and then there's like a studio engineer who's setting up the mixer board and all that kind of stuff. For me, it probably took an hour. You kind of have to capitalize on the short time that each one of these bands have. So it's like pretty much hurry up and go. Like there's no like hurry up and wait, which is one of the things I love in the film industry. Sometimes you get a lot of prep time and you just like can chill. Cameras are set, the lighting's set, you can just chill. This was like, oh no, we got 2 hours with the band and we need to do 3 songs like right now. So I was like, just trying to make it happen as quick as possible.
And this, you said it was called a music retreat center. This
Yes.
place. So
Yeah.
what is the objective or like sort of like vibe of this place? Like what do they do for people? Sort of.
Great question. So it's called Colibrio. Colibri is hummingbird in Spanish. There's tons of hummingbirds where I live, and it's called Colibrio. Basically, there's a bunch of little houses on the property that you can rent as a musician. So the premise is that we kind of take care of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, so from like food, shelter, all that other stuff. And then that way, all you have to focus on is being creative. We have a couple like a house band, if you will. We have percussionist, bassist, guitar, and then some musicians can just come to the retreat center, work on their music, and then we have a studio as well so that they can record some songs, stuff like that.
So
So
how
yeah.
long are you there for right now, or like are you there for a while?
I mean, Tony, I've been coming down here for like 10 years, and the last 4, I've been down here a lot. And I was just been flying back to New York to work on gigs in the film industry, then flying back and chilling out. Money goes a lot further here, and love my life here. I get to ride a fucking motorcycle around these volcanic lake. Like it's not a
That's
bad
fucking
life.
sick.
Yeah. So
I bet there's like a lot of scenery too to film.
oh, it's awesome. I mean, that's another reason why I love New York City so much. It's like wherever you go in the city, I've seen that in a movie. Oh, I've seen that in a movie, this kind of stuff. It's the same thing with here. It's like no matter where I look, it's just gorgeous. Like I have volcanoes. There's an active volcano across the lake that you can see going off. The lake itself is beautiful. It's kind of like Jurassic Park vibes.
That's fucking
So,
sick. Because
yeah.
I live in Long Island, so I'm not far from the city. But everything here, I feel like is very congested and kind of shoved together. Like I don't know. There's not a lot of like grand landscapes and mountains and rivers and beautiful things. And I've only actually been on 2 flights in my life, believe it or not. I'm 21 years old. I've been to Florida twice, and as a videographer, I'm like, dude, I want to go out and see the world. You know what I mean? Like, I want to see all these beautiful places. I haven't even left the country. Been to Florida twice in Orlando, so
Yeah.
I'm just like, what you're doing is like very inspiring. I just want to be able to go out and see everything, and I feel like this career path takes us in those sort of routes.
Totally, totally, totally. Actually, some of the first travel that I did was because of jobs. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I want to go back a little bit, backtrack. So you're in Guatemala right now, but I wanted to know, like, when did you actually just start this whole pursuit in this career space? Like, I'm talking like from the day you picked up a camera
Oh,
from
yeah.
now. Like, walk
Oh,
me
yeah.
through your story, man. Because
Oh, yeah.
we haven't really like talked about it too much when we
No,
were
this
together.
is so here's the thing, Tony, my 2 passions in life are film and music, and they're just totally they're hand in hand, For me, I got into filming before I got into music actually because I was a skateboarder. And so you're 21, I'm 41, right? And so at that time, I was washing dishes at 15. I bought 2 VCRs and a Radio Shack audio mixer, and I had my Walkman. And I was pressing pause, play, record, all this kind of stuff, making these skate videos. And then I press play on the Walkman, like time it out, be like, oh, this actually works with this part. Okay, cool. And then I had to manually press play and then press record on the VCR and make skate videos that way. I took my dad's like VHS C camera, which is like these little tiny VHS C tapes that go into like a bigger VHS tape. And I jammed a fisheye lens into the camera. It wasn't even threaded or anything. So like that's how I got my start, was like skate videos.
You know, it's funny you say that because the guy that I'm working with right now, Sam, he has a production company up in Long Island. And he started with skateboarding with fisheye lenses and stuff, like doing stupid tricks and shit.
Yep. Yeah, that's the thing, dude. You might be surprised. So many people in New York that I've worked with all got their start in skating. Like sometimes, like on lunch breaks, some of the boys will like break out a skateboard, you know, and, like skate on set, you know. So yeah,
that's fucking sick. So you started with skateboarding, and then where did you branch out into other aspects that kind of led you to the professional life?
That's a good question. So my path was, I made a lot of skate videos. I was like my crew's videographer. You know, I wasn't making any money. We were just doing this for fun. But I was shooting a lot of different skaters. And then I got into music. I started playing electric guitar. I started being in bands. And I was really trying to make it in bands. After, I don't know, 6 or 7 bands, I decided to move to Thailand and just give up on that. And then when I was in Thailand, I realized I've been doing film this whole time, so I could make a career out of it. So I went back to school for film in Atlanta and then started my film career. Yeah.
Fuck, dude, that's sick. So what did you kind of start with in film? Like, what was your first like project that was like for real?
Dude, it's crazy. I really think that my first project, like right out the gate, was like working with big time hip hop artists in Atlanta. Like while I was still in film school at Georgia State, which is in Atlanta, I met one of my main mentors, Zach Wolf, and he took me under his wing. And I remember we were just hanging out at the bar or something, and he's like, you know, I get these big jobs, man, and like I'm just gonna call you out of the blue. I'm like, yeah, sure. Like I'm like, I've heard this a million times. Like, yo, let me do you a favor. Like I got this big shit. I'm like, okay. And so lo and behold, less than a week later, he's like, all right, it's on. I'm like, what? We do like 3 T.I. music videos like back to back. And I'm pretty sure that's like the first, like I'm still in school. My friends are all like, what are we gonna do when we graduate college? I'm like, yo, I'm already working on set with T.I. Like, you know what I mean? So
how did you meet this mentor that got you into these gigs? Like, because it's very networking, right?
Yeah, that's the whole thing. I mean, look, man, nepotism is a real thing, you know? Nepotism is a big deal, and it's not, it is what you know, don't get me wrong, but it is also who you know. And whoever gives you that leg up, that gives you that opportunity, you can parlay that into whatever else for your career. At least that's my story. But basically, Zach and I were riding bikes around Atlanta, like, and this motherfucker had a he had a single speed mountain bike with no brakes, and he would use his back foot and he had a hole in his shoe from using his back foot to brake like around like this. I'm like, this guy's crazy. And like, I thought I was a fast rider. I thought I was a good rider. And then I was like, dude, how do you do this? And we just started hanging out and broing down, like having a couple beers. Like, and then it was just totally organic. I wasn't like knocking on his door. He's like, what do you do? I'm like, I'm in school for film. He's like, oh yeah? I was like, what do you do? And he's like, well, I'm a photographer. And he was really downplaying like how big he is. If you look up Zach Wolf, I mean, he shot everyone from Lil Wayne to, you know, Rick Ross, everyone, you name it. And I'm pretty sure he studied under Jonathan Mannion, who is like the king of hip hop photography. So anyway, Zach, it was just an organic meeting and just an organic hang.
When he mentioned to you, like you said, oh, like, I don't know if you really have like a big thing, like, oh, I'll help you out. Like, I've had that happen as well. But when he actually called you for that, like, how'd you feel? You're like, oh shit, like, this is for real now.
Dude, it was like my life before and my life after. We jumped straight into 3 music videos, like, I think that fucking weekend, man. I think it was like all at once. It was like, we did this, we did like 1 T.I. song, and then we did 2 songs that T.I. was featured on. The T.I. song was called You Hear Me, And then the second one was Young Dro, Gucci Mane, and T.I. called Freeze Me. And then the third one was somebody else. I think it was called Get Yo Girl or something. Anyway.
So what grade were you in? Were you a senior in college when this happened, or junior?
Yeah, this is my last year
Senior.
of college. Yeah.
So this was like a good setup then for you to just like when you get out, you got your shit figured out, you can work.
Bro, I was so lucky. I was so lucky to get this
But
break
that's
like
what it
this.
is. That's
Yeah,
it's
right.
all like luck, dude. Like people say luck, luck, luck. Luck, yes, but also it's like you got to be prepared to like take that
Hmm.
opportunity cuz like I hate when people say like, "Oh, like this guy just got lucky." It's like, you know, he deserved it too. You know what I mean? Like
Right,
you gotta
right.
like give yourself credit where it's due. Like you have to be, charismatic, have good energy with someone. Have all the technical skills, like you were saying. Like it's not
Right,
all
right.
about who you know and like what you know. It's a balance. And I feel the same way too because like it's funny enough how I got in with this production company was this guy was selling his Ninja, and I needed the monitor, and I was like, I needed to upgrade, and I knew I've been following the guy's name is Sam, and he's been on Instagram for a while, so I've always been following him, and I just sees the I was like, dude, if I buy this like Ninja from him, number one, I need it. But number
Yeah,
two, like it will allow me to get in his face and shake his hand and like we could talk, like I could see his studio and shit because
yeah,
that's where like he wanted me to go to buy it. So
yeah.
literally from that has blossomed all like every work that I'm doing like right now with them. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah, I just want to touch on something you said that, and you really nailed it. It's like, it's not that we get lucky, we get a break, but we put in the work to get to a place in which we can hold that break that somebody's given us, that opportunity that somebody's given us. And I mean, yeah, I mean, it's like I'm saying, like film and music are just tattooed into my soul, man. And it's something I've always cared about. Like when I was in high school, I took video classes, and they had to make up extra classes for me because I was so passionate, and the teacher loved me so much. There's literally only video 1 and 2, and I made them make up 3 and 4 for me in my senior year. So like,
That's
it's
fucking
not like
awesome.
it's not like I was just some like kid who like didn't know lenses, aperture, ISO, lighting. I didn't know. It's not like I didn't know anything. I knew stuff. And it just happened to be that opportunity hit at exactly the right point, as I was finishing school. And so, yeah.
So with these music gigs, what type of cameras were you using? What was your role with them specifically?
Dude, it's such a good question. So this was during the era of the 5D Mark II explosion, right? So Zach Wolf was a huge photographer, but he had the 5D Mark II at the time, which was the baddest camera at the time, and it was shooting incredible video. And so he was using all of his skills, and all the hip hop artists were like, "Yo, you can shoot videos now too." And so it was kind of like he kind of turned overnight too, and now he's an incredible DP as well. He's got awesome portfolio. I love his
Hmm.
work, but yeah, it was just kind of like the 5D Mark II explosion, where instead of having to have like a $50,000 camera, you could have like a $5,000 camera and make really good stuff with interchangeable lenses.
Hmm.
And so, yeah,
So what? So that was your break. You did the music videos, but
yeah,
I know you mentioned to me you also did like actual like film and like TV. So like I wanted to know like
yeah.
what was your first break in with that area?
That's a really good question. So basically, I had a good career in Atlanta. The music videos I parlayed into working with like Home Depot and then like Oracle software, and I do like commercial shoots and stuff like this. And I took 3 months off to shoot a feature length documentary. And so after a few years of working in Atlanta, I went to Peru, shot a documentary, and then I went to New York to kind of pitch the documentary and to kind of get some money for the rest of it,
Hmm.
right? In that time, yeah, I don't know. I was using. I met another guy totally organically on a set, and it was like a 48-hour film set, and we were all doing it for free, and and my buddy was like, "Hey, you should come help out. I'm gonna hire you." Oh yeah, I forgot. I got hired actually to be the talent. I got hired to be
Oh
an
shit.
actor. Yeah. He was like, "You got a camera, right?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah." I was like, "You want me to shoot like with my 5D on this? He's like, no, you're going to be an actor. You're going to be the paparazzi. I was like, okay, whatever. And so this was the first time I was like in front of the lens instead of behind it.
Yeah,
And I was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
whatever. So I'm like this paparazzi looking dude in New York, like shooting these photos. And I end up meeting one of the camera operators, and we just end up hanging out after we wrap for like 3 hours, introduces me to his wife. Like we just vibe. And it turns out that he was a DIT, a digital imaging technician.
Yeah.
And so that's how I got into that world. We used to just basically hang out, and next thing I know, I was like, I want to do what you do. And he's like, if you're serious, let's go. So that's kind of
Dude,
how it
it's
all started.
fucking, that's like, it's such a like you look at like a straight line, like corporate job, like it's like
Yeah,
very,
right.
like progression is like very linear. And then this is like,
Right.
I met this guy in this like film set, we're doing it for 48 hours for free. And then like he wanted me to be in front of the camera. And then he's like, oh, like if you're serious about what you do, like you could, like, it's fucking
Bro,
crazy.
there's no way to write this like I know I love the idea of visualization. It's like visualize where you want to be, like feel what it feels like. It's like, yeah, but like I just kind of follow my heart. I just kind of follow what I want to do. I meet the right people in an organic way. Whoa, you actually have a connection that could mutually benefit both of us. Holy shit, like I'm off to the races.
And that's another thing about, like you said, that job was for free where you first met that person
Yeah.
that got you the connect. So like that's also important, doing like some free shit sometimes if it's really what you want to do. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, I mean, this is one of those topics that gets talked about all the time. It's like, one of the things that I loved about Zach was he was like, fuck you, pay me. Right? Like, so
Yeah.
here's an example. So I was working on this music video and I didn't really know After Effects, and they really wanted some After Effects. I was like, yo, I'm going to put my rate at like, I don't know, let's say the going rate was like $500 a day. I was like, I'm going to put it at like $250 a day. He's like, no, fuck that shit. He's like, you put it for $1,000 a day. And I was like, what? He's like, you know what? You're going to be staying up for 24 hours learning this shit, but you're going to feel good about it, right? Because you're going to get paid $1,000 a day. I was like, yeah, you're right. And so I was like, yeah, it's $1,000 a day. I got to edit this music video, and After Effects are like, sure. And I'm like, yo, I'm just like staying up all night, like drinking coffee all night. Like, how do I do this? How do I do that? Going to YouTube University. But it gave me the pizzazz and like motivation. So there's the one side, which is the, fuck you, pay me. The other side, though, is like, if there are things that we can do for free. And I feel like a lot of people say like, oh, don't do anything for free. Don't give away you spent all this money. You spent this money on your camera. You spent the money on the film school, or all the years that you've been working on this stuff. It's like, don't give it away. But here's another example of how I got a job. I used to teach video editing classes at college, and I used to teach production classes at college back in Atlanta before I left. And I got that job because I did a free shoot for a nonprofit.
Yeah.
I was on the set doing this nonprofit shoot. It was a good cause, people with heart. And one of the guys was like, man, I really like your style. I really like your eye. Have you ever thought about teaching college? I'm like 26 or 27. I'm like, you want me to teach college? All right, cool. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, dude, like the fuck you pay me part, that I love. First of all, I love that phrase. I think people need to be more like that with some jobs, I think. But
Sure.
with
Totally.
me, I used to undervalue my rates a lot, and I used to like when I used to pitch rates to clients, I would like feel like it was really weird. I like feel like empathy for them paying me. I'm like, I don't want to do that to him. Like, I don't want to charge him like $500. Like, I'm like, dude, what the fuck am I talking about?
Right,
I'm running a
right.
business. Like, why am I thinking about like, oh, like, man, like that's his money. Like, I don't want to make him pay that much. Like, I'm like, dude, what the? And then I just started actually like charging more. And it's funny enough, I got more jobs that way because I was more serious about it. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
comes off with the price.
Totally.
It's this weird fucking thing, dude.
Dude, it is such a weird thing. I remember, I mean, look, man, I've been freelancing for 15 years. That means that's 15 years of negotiations. You know what I mean? And I remember that too, where it's like, oh man, I think, $300 would be good for what they're asking for. But then if you tell them $300, they think it's worth $300. If you tell them $1,000, then they're like, "Oh, I'm getting my money's worth." I don't know. It's this weird thing in people's head where if you devalue yourself, they're not gonna think of it as being as good. Do you know?
Yeah, and I think also that's like can apply to a lot of service jobs too. Like this is a service job, you know, we're providing a service. But I also think like other things too. Like it's a whole price perception, and it seems counterintuitive to charge more. But when I
Sure.
started doing that, it's like, but I also have to charge more now because like I legitimized my LLC. Like I'm paying fucking taxes. Like
Yeah, right.
you know, you gotta look out for yourself too.
Totally.
So, but again, we got that part done. But then the flip side, you said like the free work. I
Yeah.
am a big proponent of using your camera outside of paid gigs so that it doesn't become like a burden to pick it up. And I think that you
Uh-huh.
lose the passion and the flame of
Totally.
of why you got into it in the first place, because I'll like do little short films, like just bullshit, dude. Like fucking like 2 minute long YouTube video of my friend working out like in my backyard with the sun at magic hour, and it looks sick with a Promise filter. But like it's got no
Totally.
fucking substance really, but it's all like just cinematography practice. And then I start posting that shit, and like people, they fucking like it. They're like, dude, like this is cool as fuck. And like I don't know, it makes you feel good.
You know what, dude? I just forgot about this. So the way I got this artistic director job here in Guatemala at this music retreat center was because of that exact same reason. I brought my A7S III over to like, they have these like open jams on Wednesdays, and musicians come through, and I went to like play some music, and I was like, dude, this is so cool. I got inspired to shoot some photos. Next thing you know, I'm shooting some photos. I'm like just giving them to them, like, you know, whatever. Like I enjoyed this. I played with the color. It was a good example for me to like touch back in with that flame that got me into this industry in the first place, you know, the passion. And then the house band that's working there played a show. I shot the photos of that. And I'll tell you this, the A7S III, the Sony low light is bananas.
Fuck yeah, dude.
It's bananas. And especially with the photos too. I don't know if you've played with this, but all this new AI noise removal, and it looks super clean. And then I'm able to like bring stuff back that I would never have been able to do 5 years ago.
Well, it's
And
also got a low megapixel sensor too, so that helps a lot with low light as well.
totally, totally. And so I basically just took these photos for free. I was going to the show. I broke out my camera for maybe 5% of the time, dude. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, the wind's blowing, the dude's hair is going, he's got his guitar, that looks dope. Oh, she's doing the violin and the candle's right here. Oh, I love that shit. You know what I mean? Just a couple little photos, tweaked them, gave them to him, and he was like, "Man, how do I pay you not to go back to New York?" And I was like, "Well, you pay me, first of all, and then second of all, let me give you a proper proposal." And then I've had this job now for the last month. So
Yeah, dude.
yeah,
Fuck that. I like you said, like shooting music. I when I did that shoot for the City of the Sun and the
Yeah.
Street, that was
Yeah.
my first like band thing I've ever done.
Oh,
And
cool.
dude, like I fucking love that shit. It's so sick shooting music. I'm like, well, first of all, that street is fucking amazing at
Oh,
Magic
yeah.
Hour. You
Oh,
just got the
yeah.
sun shooting down.
Oh,
the
yeah.
fucking so like all the shots looked fucking dope. Like even if they weren't like a good shot, it was still a good shot because it's got like the fucking rim on the whole
Yes.
subject with the golden light. And dude, that shoot, I actually talked to the band. I'm like, dude, like if you ever want me, just pop out for like a performance or whatever. Like I'm game because I love this shit. Like it was so fun doing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And that's where I met you. You know, funny
Yeah.
enough. So.
Yo, I was gonna say too, by the way, I love seeing the final product of what you shot of that band. Cause it's like, you know, everybody's, you know, you got a camera, I know you know what you're doing, you're like getting around, you're doing all these shots, I can tell you're into it. And then when you had that, when you posted about it, I was really, really impressed. I mean, like you're saying, is it Canal Street? I think it was.
Yeah,
but
Canal
basically,
Street.
yeah, it's like perfect timed at that exact golden hour. It comes straight down the street, right there on Canal, and the band's out there in the street. The architecture is awesome. Everything is awesome. And then also, I really liked your color grade on that too. It was like this almost like kind of like desaturated like shadows. The blacks are black, but then like you could still feel that golden hour warmth. I thought it looked really fucking good.
I appreciate that a lot, first of all. And was that from I think I posted a reel about it where it was like a bunch of
Yeah.
split frames. Was
Yeah.
that the one you're talking? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was, yeah. When I color grade, dude, I like, people always ask me like, dude, like, what's your fucking color grade method? Like, what do you do? Like,
Yeah.
Bro, I am such a fucking mess when I do color grading. I just fucking, I'm literally, this is the MacBook where it's got the Retina display.
Yeah,
Dude, I'm just fucking, I have like a node structure on DaVinci, but dude, I have no like, I'm just figuring it out. You know, like
cool.
I don't know what the fuck I'm
Super cool.
doing. You know what I
Well, it
mean?
looked great, dude. It looked really great. Yeah.
Thank you, man. But I
Yeah.
don't know if you've ever had that where you're just kind of like messing around with shit. You're like, oh, I mean, that looks good, dude. Like I don't really
Right.
have a fucking preferred method.
Yeah. No, so I'll just explain a little bit of what a DIT is. Digital imaging
Hmm.
technician. That's what I've been doing for the last, I don't know, 10 years in New York. Basically, yeah, a lot of times a DIT is like just a data manager, but what a real DIT is like I have these like fancy Flanders monitors that are OLED, and I have like these wave scopes, and I'm basically like the creative science behind the camera, if you will. Technically in charge of the camera settings. Sometimes I have remote iris control. So I have like a cart, and I have like the three wheels for like shadow, mids, and highlights. And I'm coloring, and it's basically a live colorist.
Oh
So
shit.
yeah. So I'll show up on set and do like live color grading for like, I don't know, Gucci commercials or like Cadillac commercials or like, TV shows or whatever it is. So like, let's say we're on a multi, I've never done a full season of TV, but I've day played on tons of shows. And let's say we have like three different cameras. There's Apple, Baker, Charlie, and the lens on this one's a vintage lens, and it pulls a little magenta. And that one over there is a little cyan. So I balance all the cameras live by live grading. And I'll give it like a little, like if we're doing like a cop drama or something, I'll give it like a little crunchier look. And the whole thing with color grading live is like I'm sitting there with the DP most of the time, and he's telling me what he wants. He's like, yeah, let's cool down those shadows, let's boost the midtones, and let's roll off some of those highlights. I'm like, great, got it, do. And you have to do this quick. So it's not like nodes where you're like in DaVinci where you're like, oh, I'll do this, I'll do like this mask, I'll
Mm-hmm.
even do this, or I'll do just the subject or a vignette or whatever. It's more just like overall color grading. The way I see it is like a solid B plus. And then that way it saves time and money on the post. Then if the DP signed off on the look on set, then like the colorist doesn't need to give him like four different models. I supply him with a LUT that I made on set, and then he just tweaks it, you know?
Oh, so okay, yeah, I was gonna ask. Like, they don't actually bake in that into the footage. They you just create like you export like a LUT from that. What program
Right.
is that? Is that some sort of like fancy film program?
Yeah, it is. It's a German company called Pomfort, Pomfort, and they do live grade, and they do the two main programs that I use are live grade for live color grading, and then Silver Stack for really really precise data management. So I mean, yeah,
So that's interesting. I never even knew like that would be like a responsibility on set to be actually like live color grading because I always thought like, yo, you just have like pre-made LUTs and you just like choose between them. But like nah, like you're actually like fucking tweaking that shit with
oh
the
yeah,
dude there and he's like telling you
yes,
and that's like very advanced work. That's like the work I want to get into. That's like fucking actual sick advanced shit. It's like almost like high school to university. It's like high school
totally,
you think you know like all this shit and then you go on a film set and it's like holy shit
totally.
there's a fucking guy doing that.
Totally. And I'm really glad you said that because that's kind of my journey is like I cut my teeth in Atlanta. And again, I got lucky or I got fortunate to get these opportunities, but I worked with like T.I., Gucci Mane, Ludacris, like all these Atlanta hip hop artists. And that was all like non-union. I would be operating. I would be helping Zach with rig the lighting. I would be editor on some of these videos. Like it was kind of just like all over the place. Whatever we needed, I was like the guy who would fill it in. And then when I moved to New York, instead of kind of being like a one-man band, I just saw this opportunity of being a DIT where it combined my skill sets as an editor, it combined my skill sets as like a camera operator. And so the DIT position is kind of like the liaison between what happens on set and what happens in post. So not only do I manage all the data, not only do I check the exposure on set and color grade, then I also manage the data. I set that up for the editor, and then I also provide LUTs for the colorist. So I'm kind of like the in-between. And since I've already had my hands in both sides of from shooting to editing, it just seemed like a perfect little niche for me.
Well, going back to like you said, like all the shit you did in Atlanta, like helped you
Yeah.
prepare for this role, and like even going back to the luck thing, like you
Yeah.
prepared for it, the opportunity, you had all the experience, you had and I think it's beneficial, like you're saying, oh, you're setting up the lights, you're editing, you're shooting, but like, dude, that's all like fucking great. It's all like info, experience.
Totally.
So
Totally.
like, I think people would love to work on film sets, but like when you have a wealth of experience behind you, you can kind of mesh wherever they need you in like a specialized position, right?
Right. Well, this is the difference. The big difference between like working on music videos with Zach and stuff like that to working on set with like, I don't know, fucking De Niro or I don't know whoever else I've worked with on these big jobs. It's like there's a hierarchy. There's a very deliberate hierarchy in the film industry. There's the DP, DIT, first AC, second AC, loader. There's like, and that's just the camera department. So it's like, you have key grip, all the rest of the grips, all this kind of stuff. Basically, my point is that there's a hierarchy, so you kind of just stay in your lane. You know what I mean? Like, while I have a lot of power as the DIT to pull the iris, for example, if I think that it's a little too dark, I can open it up a little bit, and I'll let the DP know or whatever. But for the most part, that's my call, depending on the set. Not every set. So it's like you stay in your lane, which is kind of cool in a lot of ways, because I remember the shoots that I would do when I was a one-man band. I'm doing all this pre-production, I'm doing scouting, I'm doing the lighting, I'm coming up with the storyboards, and then I'm shooting it, and then I'm editing it, and then I'm doing re-edits, and then I hopefully get paid, right? So
Yeah.
so it's like, and there's a joy in having that much creative control. Look, man, I like to be in control. I like to be in control. I like to call the shots. I really do love that power and that freedom. Creative expression, I love it. However, there's something really nice about just being a hired gun and like just being a DIT. I'm not really on too many pre-production emails. Yeah, we talk about lenses or gear or what are we going to get at the rental house or whatever. For the most part, I show up, I do my job, I go home, I'm done. I get paid.
Mm-hmm.
And there was something really nice about it, but then it does kind of get monotonous. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think so. Like, you can't. Have you seen like experience anyone like making a suggestion that's outside their department and like they get like backfire for it?
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh yeah, for sure. Dude, I mean, sets have really calmed down over the years, but they used to be like pretty how can I put this? They're pretty rough and tough places.
Mm-hmm.
They can be very rough and tough places. And the way it was told to me is, I don't have time to be polite. Shut the fuck up and do what you're supposed to do. That kind of energy. And they've chilled out over the years. But, if you step out, you're not going to have catering tell the DP what lens choices to make, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to tell the craft services, crafty, like, hey, I think we should change the lighting on that. Like, you'd be fired. Like, they wouldn't hire you back for craft services. Like, stay in your lane, Yeah. But for there's a whole thing called Setiquette, like set etiquette.
Uh-huh.
And so I was one of the first things that my buddy wanted me to read when I started working in New York. He's like, bro, read this. You got to know your place. And so yeah.
If you're someone who wants to like get into like one of those high rep roles, like a DP or something, like what's the best way to like go about doing that in a Setiquette? Like how do you even like work up?
So there's two main ways to do it, in my opinion. One is the slow road of starting as a second AC, moving up to a first AC, which is focus pulling, and then shooting your own like short films and like shooting your own stuff, and then parlaying that into being a DP. The other thing, honestly, man, the way that I approach this is that I got into this world for passion. I got into this because film is cool as shit, and it moves me and it moves people. I love it. And so just go fucking shoot stuff. Go shoot. Go learn what lighting works and what doesn't. Actually get your hands on a camera. Like actually get out there, you know, like change up, if you can't afford the lenses, go rent them for the weekend. Go shoot some stuff, you know? And then through that experience, you're going to learn what works for you and what doesn't. You're going to learn like your style. You're going to learn, you know, what really lights you up. And I feel like it's better to get hired for, at least for me personally, I think it's better to get hired for what you do versus trying to be like a jack of all, or like a chameleon as a DP.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh yeah, I could shoot baby videos and I could shoot hip hop videos and I could shoot commercials for, you know, it's like, dude, come on, pick a lane. And I think it's a lot easier, you know, where it's like, and again, you don't have to narrow yourself just to bands or something, but like you were saying, like if you shoot this band and you really like the way it looks, other bands are going to see that and they're going to want to bring you in, you know?
It's funny you say that because I think, you know, everyone that's notable in like the film world has their own, like, it's a very specific thing. It's not like, oh, like that guy could do like commercials and films, like, you know, Christopher Nolan, he's big on the time shit, you know?
Yeah.
You got, you know, what's the guy's name? Denis, he's got like a French last name. I don't want to butcher it for his sake. The guy who did the Dune movies, he's very big on like the big landscape drone shots. Like everyone's got like their own thing, and I think like the more you specialize, the more you'll like sort of like hedge your way out of the crowd because that guy's like playing on his strengths, not his fucking weaknesses. And because everyone's got weaknesses, you know what I mean? Like we all like have places where we can lack a little bit, but we also have the fucking like strengths. Like I'm sure you have things that you're really good at, right? That you kind of work on that shit as opposed to your weaknesses, right?
Totally. And that's totally. And, you know, one of my heroes who's a director is this guy, Roman Gavras. I don't know. He's French. I might be mispronouncing that. But he's the guy who did MIA's Bad Girl video. Bad Girls. Okay. Have you seen that? Dude,
I've heard of it. I haven't seen it.
Oh, bro. It's so dope. It's like these cars in the Middle East on two wheels, like blasting through the desert while she's like filing her nails, riding a car with two wheels. Like it's insane. He did this video for Justice. You know the French duo Justice? They're like an electronic group.
No, I haven't.
Anyway, he has this. You should totally look this up. This video is one of my favorites of all time. It's called Stress, is the name of the music video. And it's all these kids going through Paris, like in the hood, like breaking windows and like lighting shit on fire and like fucking shit up. And the song is called Stress. It's like a really intense electronic song. And then what he does is he shoots it like a documentary. Like he's following these kids around. It's handheld. It's shaky. Like shit's getting broken. You know, they're terrorizing people. It's wild. And then they turn on the camera crew. And like they you can see like the boom operators like this, and like they're like taking his mic from him, and they're like lighting the camera's shit on fire. Like they're just like, and it's like breaks that fourth wall, and it's really gnarly. And I think this is one of his earlier pieces, and that's how he got to these other really great music videos that he did with like MIA, going through the desert. I mean, the budget on that had to be 10 times whatever that Justice Stress video was. And then also Roman, I will say this, one thing that I love about him is that he got paid to do an Adidas ad, and it's fucking gritty. It's this like gritty style that also I can see his influences from back in the Justice days where the kids are like breaking shit in the streets, because he's got like this Adidas ad where it's like really intense. You see the sweat coming off the athlete, but then you see like a policeman like holding the German Shepherd as it's like going towards the camera and shit. It's like, it's a gnarly Adidas ad. Like, why would Adidas is hiring him because he's him as an auteur, like as an artist, you know? And so I think I don't know. I just think that is probably the most fulfilling path, and also the way, like you're saying, for you to stand out, you know?
Yeah. I think it's a weird thing to explain, because I think it's like, it's not something you can really put into words, but I'm going to try my best to.
Sure.
It's sort of like, you know, I meet creators and they have these great ideas, but like they're like, oh, but like, you know, that's like, I don't have the budget for that. Like, it's a big idea, but I'm like, dude, just like morph that idea into something smaller and like show the proof of concept, like of what that could be. Because I know for like, you know, I'm sure you know Whiplash, that the
Of
film.
course. Yeah.
And the director, he released a 20-minute short film of that at the Sundance Film Festival, and he got $3 million worth of investing to
Oh,
make it
awesome.
into the feature. So like, just make a sample of what you think this is,
Totally.
and people can pick up on your vision because like that's guy's like I don't know how to explain it. It's almost like, oh, that guy like knows, like if we gave him like a real budget to do something, like I could tell like he fucking would really make it work.
Totally.
I think Christopher Nolan, he did Following was his first feature film, and it wasn't like a great film per se, but like you saw like the sort of beats and the elements that you would see carry over into like Memento or Insomnia or like his other
Totally.
films with bigger budgets. And it's like, dude, if you want to get to that point, you just gotta like start fucking like showing your shit to the world. That's what I like.
Yeah.
That's what I sort of like live by now. Like, if it's not even if it's not perfect, just like fucking post it, man. Like, show people, because I'll have like ideas I'm sitting on or projects, and I'm like, dude, like I don't know, like I'm like halfway through it, and like you get like in this rut where you're like, I don't know if it's good enough, and like it didn't go as planned, but I released like a sample of it, and like people fucking liked it. So like it
Yeah.
helps you like to keep the ball moving
Yeah.
by just showing your shit, because you're not gonna get anywhere if you don't show people what you're about.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Totally. And I think that
I know I
think
rambled
that-
a little bit, but
No, it's all good, man. I think that one of the things that really came through for me when you were saying that is momentum. And when an object in motion, it's easier to change directions. You know what I mean? Like if you got the momentum going and you're putting stuff out there and you're learning, you're moving on, you're like completing things. Like these are all really strong. This is all really strong for your momentum. You know, like there's been times in which like, I've been timid. I'm like, I don't know. I probably won't share that because nobody's going to like it. Or I don't know if it's not up to my standards, let's just say. Right. But it's like, honestly, the times I have similar to you, people like it. They're like, oh, this is so dope. I love the way the light's coming in this way. Or I love how the colors here, or like they pick out the things that they like that I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. There is a style here. There is a something here. And so I don't know. It's good to have momentum.
yeah, I think it's all about just like, obviously this is all artistic stuff, but like I've been reading this book by Rick Rubin, The Creative Act, and I read like a chapter a day or a couple pages a day, but it's helped me like, because he's like explaining the problems I have, and I'm like, dude, like this is exactly the problems that I'm like dealing with as a creator, and it's like,
Right.
it's helped me to just push through, like just fucking release shit, just fucking complete stuff, and then you make I forget where I heard this saying, but it's like, you make a film. Okay, and then you make a less shitty film next time, and then you make a less shitty film next time, and then you make and they just keep going and going and going. But like, you're not gonna get to the great film without those 20 shitty fucking films you just released because they're
Totally.
good. But you like pick it up. Oh, okay, next film I do in a couple of years. Okay, I fixed that problem with that film. It's like, it's such a crazy thing, but like people don't understand that. I'm like, it's so simple, but it's not
Yeah.
easy, but it's simple. Just release stuff.
One of my favorite examples in the film world, which is like to me just like the total, like it doesn't make any sense, is Peter Jackson, right? Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Multi-million-dollar project, super great, incredible masterpieces of films in my opinion. But did you see his early films?
Yeah,
Bad
like
Taste.
Yeah.
Fucking like Meet the Feebles.
Yep.
Like what the fuck is that shit, dude?
I know.
How he goes from Meet the Feebles with like Muppets shooting up heroin to like this masterpiece of Lord of the Rings, I'll never understand. But he put himself out there. He really put himself out there.
Bad Taste was such an odd film.
So
it's very
weird, dude.
long, prolonged. It's like, it's very low budget, you could tell.
Super low budget.
But it's like, dude, the fucking whole like first act is just like, what the fuck is going on right now, dude?
Yeah.
But me and my friend, it's actually funny you bring those two movies up, because we do this thing where like we pick an 80s film that's like really cheesy, and like we surprise each other with. It's like, oh, this night is my night to surprise you guys with like a stupid, corny 80s film. And two of those happen to be those Peter Jackson films.
Oh, nice.
But so I watched those two, but it's crazy because like, I don't know if he wrote Lord of the Rings. Did he write the film, or did someone else write that? Or do you not
You
know?
mean like the script? I mean,
Yeah, the script. Obviously, the books are the books, but I'm saying like the
yeah, the
script
books are the
that
books.
he.
I don't know. I don't know how that came to be honest. That's something I would like to do more research on. I just know, to me, as far as I understand it, and maybe I'm totally incorrect, but there was Meet the Feebles and Bad Taste, which had similar kind of weird, totally out there, grotesque
Yeah.
even vibes,
Yeah.
right? Low budget as fuck, like weird shit. And then all of a sudden, there's a what I know of is like a long gap in his career. Then all of a sudden, he's doing like fucking Lord of the Rings. I don't really know what happened in the in between, and I don't know how he parlayed his films into that. But I find it
Mm-hmm.
really fascinating. You
Yeah,
know?
for sure. So I wanted to ask you about because I know you said this to me when we met, and that you
Sure.
worked on a set with De Niro on the
Yeah.
comedian, and
Yeah, yeah.
I wanted to just go into your experience there because that's fucking absolutely insane. You were on set with him.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, it was absolutely insane. So let me even back up a little further. I when I decided to be a DIT, my buddy was like, "All right, if you're serious, it's go time." I went to Baltimore for a month and a half, and I worked on a feature film. That was my first feature film, and feature films are fucking boot camp, man. By the way, uh, indie film, low budget, and it was like 30 something days on set doing DITing over and over and over again. I felt really good, but that was the first time I had actually done DITing. The next job I got was literally on set with De Niro, filming pickups. So I went from, and of course I had all the stuff in Atlanta and the TI music
Yeah.
videos, and I went to film school and all that stuff. But when I did one job, which was a month and a half on a feature. And then the next job was like a couple days of pickups for this movie called The Comedian. And so what pickups are basically like if the principal photography is done shooting, they're like, we could use a couple little pickups for the movie. And there was no other DITs available on those days, and I happened to just get it. And yeah, so I'm on set with Robert De Niro filming a movie called The Comedian. So he's like a comedian on stage. And like Jim Norton, I don't know if you know Jim Norton, but he's like, I think he's hilarious and he's super crass. Like he's like really crass. And Jim Norton is feeding Robert De Niro these like really fucked up lines,
Yeah.
like dick fart, like fucking
Yeah.
jokes, like totally raunchy as shit. And so like I'm watching De Niro get fed by this comedian, Jim Norton, and they're like the most inappropriate jokes. I don't think the majority of these ever made the film. You know what I
I
mean?
think I've seen clips of this film.
Yeah.
I think I've seen it on like TikTok or some shit.
Yeah. So I didn't do the whole feature. I just did like a couple days after the feature was done shooting. They needed some pickup shots. But literally, yeah.
Did you get to like shake hands with him, meet him, or anything?
No, dude. And this is where you get into set
Yeah, yeah,
etiquette,
yeah.
right? It's like you're not allowed to talk to talent. If they talk to you, you're allowed to respond. You can have conversations, whatever. But as a camera guy in the camera union, I can't go talk to De Niro. Like, can you imagine how many?
Crazy.
Yeah, dude. And that's the thing too, is like if you cross these lines, good luck. There goes your career. Like you can't. It's one of those things like if I'm sitting at my car and I'm, looking at the monitor and I'm doing some live color grading and De Niro comes by and he says, "Hey, how you doing?" I can start talking to him because he initiated conversation. But it's against the rules to initiate conversation with talent. So
Yeah,
something
that
to
puts
keep
them
in
on
mind.
such a pedestal, though. But I feel like, I mean, that's just the way it is.
It's
You
just the
know?
way it is. I mean, if I don't know, it makes sense though. And that's the thing is like dude, I worked on a lot of these sets and it's like it makes sense. At the same
Hmm.
time, it is kind of like, hey, I got to shut up in my little box. I got to stay in my lane. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I mean, for
'Cause you have a lot of
example,
responsibilities.
yeah, for example, I was working on the set with Jon Stewart. I was doing this promo for this thing called Night of Too Many Stars. And he was on set and he came up to my cart and he started talking to me. So we just shot the shit. He's a cool fucking dude,
Hmm.
And John is notorious for like really respecting the crew, treating everybody as equal. He's a legend. I have so much respect for that man. But that's an example of somebody coming over to me and starting the conversation, and then therefore we were able to like shoot the shit, you
Yeah.
know.
So that's cool. I mean, at least you were like fucking were able to like see him in fucking real life because everyone sees
Oh
him on
yeah,
like screens and
oh
shit.
yeah,
So that's awesome,
yeah.
dude. Um, So Bruce Springsteen, his barn. You
Yeah.
said you shot at his barn for the Western Stars, his show.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
So talk to me about that.
Okay, so Western Stars is kind of like this cinematic piece, but then there's like this live performance aspect. And so basically, Bruce wanted to do it in his barn. And so I think we had 13 cameras, and we had like a live orchestra in his band. And we somehow managed to get a crane through like this, I don't know, like 3-foot little kind of side door in the side of the barn. So we had one camera on a crane, like going around through the orchestra, and then like 12 other cameras set up with operators. And my role on that was literally just data management. But but like 12 cameras, I think we were shooting, I want to say they're Reds. I think we were shooting 8K, but maybe they're Airy and we were shooting 4K. Anyway, the point is it was a ton of data, tons of data.
Yeah.
And so like, excuse me, tons of data. And so basically I just downloaded all that, but I got to hang out in Bruce Springsteen's barn for like 3 days while we shot all this. And yeah, it was amazing. And there's a couple times, dude, he came over and said hello. You know what I mean? Like he's just a real dude. Like there's certain celebrities, there's certain artists that like I'm like, how the fuck did they get famous? There's other ones where I'm like, oh no, this guy's got it. Like, and Bruce is 100% one of those guys who's got it, and he's also super kind.
Yeah.
And so that was such a pleasure. Yeah, that was one for the books, man. There's a couple songs that he played it once. He's like, that's it, we're done. Like no retakes. And he just knew, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like the goosebumps that I got listening to this full band in his barn, like 20 feet away from him, you know, I mean, I don't know. That's one for the books for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, like you said, there's no like one way path of how like, you know, you get into those jobs, but there's also no like one type of like there's different people who interact with different, you know, people on set differently and stuff. So, you know, you'll have maybe people that are just like, you know, they just, you know, just do your own thing.
Right.
But that's cool that you know, you have those moments with people.
Yeah.
So your IMDb had like a very colorful sort of like wealth of experience with all these different films. So I wanted to know like what, I would just name a few just to for a refresher. The Wolf Hour, Human Capital, To the Night, and Curse of the Chippendales, if that's correct, correct pronunciation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, are there any of those out of those four that sort of like stand out to you that you know you've had like notable experiences on? Because I know Marissa Tomei was in Human Capital.
Yeah, so Human Capital was another one of these jobs where I didn't shoot the whole film, but I did do a few days of pickup. That was a really challenging shoot. I don't think anybody wanted to be there, and Marissa really didn't want to be there. Because dude, you think about this. You're an actor. You've done a month and a half on a feature, and then you're told a couple weeks later that you got to come back and shoot more. Like nobody, most people aren't excited to do it. And I think she just kind of had it. It was actually one of the most challenging jobs I've ever worked on, to be quite honest with you. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
For what reason in particular?
She was, I mean, there were screaming matches on set. I've never seen like actor screaming at director, screaming at the writer, rewriting the script in real time. The other principal actor, I don't know. It was just, dude. It was if I went into all the stories, it would be I don't know. Yeah. I might get some kind of like lawyer to come after me.
Yeah.
Because it was really awful. It was awful. I'll just leave it at that.
So you have both experiences then. You have both realms.
Yes. Totally.
You got the screaming match, but then you got shaking hands with Bruce Springsteen. So
yeah, exactly.
That's just the nature of it.
That's really the truth, man. I think that's a really good point. I just want to say this real quick, is that like, you're going to be on sets where you love everybody, and you're going to be on sets where like you hate everybody and you hate the creative and like nothing makes sense, and you still got to do your job. And it's like finding the grace to hold both is really who makes it in this industry. if that makes
Mm,
sense. Not taking
yeah.
it personal, not being like, oh, I suck because this sucks. It's like, well, sometimes, dude, I mean, look, Steph Curry doesn't make all of his shots, does he? You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Hmm.
He makes most of them and they're incredible. But like, here and there, stuff happens. But
Yeah, it's a lot of like detaching yourself from your work
mm,
too sometimes, because you always get criticism for stuff that maybe you were very passionate about, like a piece, but
yeah,
like like the person who's viewing it is going to think what they think, because it's objectively it's a piece of media, and like they have the right to have an opinion on it. And I
sure.
think for me personally, that's like helped me just to detach and like understand, like I can always take away something from what someone says about my work. You know what I mean?
Sure. Totally.
Hmm. So cool. I mean, yeah, your IMDb just basically said digital image technician, and
Yeah.
that you worked on all those projects. But I mean, I guess you've just had like a very up and down experience with those.
Yeah, yeah. I
Mm.
mean, the thing is that like I was doing feature films. There's other films that I've worked on that aren't on my IMDb. I personally have never once like done anything about it. I don't really care about the status. I don't care about who's who. I care about doing a good job and people calling me back because I do a good job and I'm fun to be on set with. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like, dude, anyway, but I've worked on some other movies and stuff like that. But over time, I just started working in the high-end commercial niche because I get paid more I get paid like what I get paid all week on a feature film, I get paid in like 2 days on a
Hmm.
commercial. So I'm like, if I work 2 days a week, I get paid the same as working 60, 80 hours a week on a feature film. Do the math. Like, I want to work less and make more money. Like, I'm not crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I've primarily over the majority of what I've done over the last few years was high-end commercials. Um, yeah. And
Hmm.
then I do like pickups or like B unit for TV shows, which is like or day play for a TV show, cover somebody on a TV show. But yeah, try to keep it. I like my freedom and I like money. So commercials.
So this is just like a random freaking thought that popped in my
Sure.
head, but like when you're doing like for example like reshoots on like
Mm,
human capital like a month later or
sure.
something, like
Sure.
who keeps track of like, because like people's hair grow, their appearance change, like
Mm-hmm.
how do you
Mm-hmm.
make it consistent with like the footage you have from before?
That's such a good question. That's why there's such a team on set, and that's why there's so many like lanes, right? Hair and makeup knows to the T what the makeup was, what the hair was, right? Wardrobe knows exactly what they are wearing at exactly what scene. Script supervisor knows exactly what is going on between the scenes. Was she looking right in that scene or was she looking left? You ever seen that in a film where like you like, especially happened in like this, it used to happen a lot in like the old films like 50s, 60s. Somebody would be on the phone in one shot and then they would do a cut like an over the shoulder and they'd have the phone in the other hand. You know what I mean?
Yeah, or
Like
like
all
the
these
lighting's
little,
a little different,
or the
like a
lighting's
little bit.
different or
Yeah.
whatever. So there's a whole team of people who are keeping up with all these details so that we as like camera operators don't have to, you know?
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, so that's how they know. I mean, it's a whole like script supervisor is like such a big deal, you know? Um,
I think also like I've seen it in movies too, that I like watch. So what I do when I watch movies now, I'll like listen to, there's a podcast on Spotify called Film Directors Commentary, and it's just like a account that like I guess it just reposts like directors and cinematographers and like talent watching their films and like talking
mhm.
about them live. And there was one for Mission Impossible Fallout, and they were saying how like, because Tom Cruise like busted his fucking ankle in that jump, and they like went in this scene, right? It was like towards the beginning, but there's like a cut. And he's like, yeah, that happened like 6 months ago, because like Tom like, but like you would never tell that like that scene, that shot in the same scene was like 6 months later, but it looks the same.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
It's so
Totally.
consistent.
And that's the other thing too. So many times, like in feature films, we're not shooting in linear order. We're not shooting in
Yeah.
the order of like how it's going to be appears on the at the theater. We're shooting on what makes sense for locations, for talent, for all kinds of stuff. Like for example, if there's a one scene that's only like 2 minutes long, but it's in the same house that's in the opening scene, you best believe we're not going to come back, rehire the location, do all this. We're just going to change the wardrobe, change the lighting, night for day or whatever it is.
Do you think that detaches you from the final product because you knew how it all shot?
I will say at first it really did. At first it really did because, at first it really did because I'm like, wait, there's a linearness to life, right? You're born, you live, and you die. Like you go through time. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end. But in film, you're like jumping around so much. But I think over time, it's just something that is skill set that you gain. Because you're able to compartmentalize pieces and like, okay, we shot this. I know that's going to go there. I know that the action for this scene, I want to feel, even though we haven't gotten the rest of this shot, let's say we're shooting a really climactic scene in the beginning of our film, in the first week of production, I got to know that we're nailing that. I got to know the whole thing. And so it doesn't really matter if we switch it around. So that's another one of those like things that I think you just kind of develop over time.
I think after being more like savvy on lighting and stuff, like I'll like not remove myself from the watching experience of a film, but I'll look at it and be like, okay, how is this lit? Where's the key? Where are the lights in this? How many lights are going on here?
Yeah.
I don't like to think, it's almost like a double-edged sword where like it's cool to like understand it, but like I just want to immerse myself in the story. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I have like a whole notebook. I'm writing like shit down on the film, like, oh, Hayes and Key was here with like the kicker, and I'm like, let me just watch the movie, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's what it's all for. Like we forget, like it's all for the experience.
Totally. And it's actually, I was just talking to my buddy about this. He's a musician. He's not a filmmaker. And we were talking about films. And I was like, I'm thinking lens choices. I'm thinking lighting. I'm thinking color grading. I'm thinking, consistent continuity. Was that actor in the same lighting when the close up as he was on the wide? Does that make sense? You know what I mean? Like these little infantile, like little teeny things that like most people would just never notice. And he's like, yeah, but like, can you actually just watch a film? And I was like, yeah, I can. Yeah, I can. There are times in which I can. And when are those times that I drop into the film is usually when the story is so captivating. Usually when it's so good that part of my thinking rational brain, which I love, but is a lot, when that just goes away is because I'm so taken into the film. And
that's what it goes back to. The story is what makes like everyone's like, oh, like why isn't my film getting traction, or like why what is it? It's really the story. Like you could fucking not have the best lighting and like fucking shots. It's like, dude, if you're invested, it doesn't matter, dude. Like it doesn't fucking matter.
Totally.
And I won't even say this because it's a bad film, because it's shot amazingly and the cinematography is great. But the film Heat that I just watched, I was so captivated by the story and the writing where I took myself out of that mindset. I was like, dude, this is so good.
Right. I think that's the secret. And I think that's one of the things that, look, I love to nerd out about lenses, lighting, like choices, cameras, whatever. I love that, it's just something I love. However, I still think the meat and potatoes of everything is the storytelling. What are we? We're storytellers, And like, I love that the camera is capturing light. Like ultimately that's all we're doing, right? Is capturing light. Light is bouncing through the lens, going through the optics, hitting the sensor or the negative, whatever. And that's what we see. But we're actually, what I like to remind myself is that what we're actually doing is storytelling. And so when you come from a storyteller's perspective, knowing that all the technical stuff that we know about lighting, camera lenses, whatever, how can we use all these tools to tell the story better? It's like that slow push in, and you've seen Drive, there's just that slow push in that they have just builds that tension. Yeah. And it's a trick to that adds to the story. It's not just like a sexy shot. Like, yeah, there's sexy shots, but that little push in just adds that little tension. You get drawn into like,
it's working
moments,
in conjunction with the story. Like you're using the technical stuff to be like, okay, how could this serve this story? How could my technical, like what shots make sense for the story that amplify the feeling? Because that's what I'm doing right now for like this short film that I anticipate like putting into festivals and stuff. It's actually about my dad, funny enough. Um, and he's starring in it and everything. And he's big into cars, so
Cool.
he's got he just bought his like dream car. So like I wanted to make a film about it because I thought like this is perfect opportunity to like do some
Yeah.
shit like that. And like we have like flashback scenes with like this kid that we found that
Oh,
wanted to
cool.
help out on the film. So like there's a whole story to it, but I'm like trying to think like, okay, how can I parallel like the scenes with the kid with the scenes with my dad when he's like driving the car? So like I had like a motorcycle, like or not motorcycle, a bicycle, like the kid on the bicycle, and like that's the flashback. But the shots are the same, just with the car. So like the lock on
I
shot with
love
the
this.
bicycle wheel,
Yeah.
but then the
Cool.
lock on shot with the car wheel, or like
Yeah.
lock on shot of the mirror of the car, and then a lock on shot of the mirror of the bicycle with the car in the frame, because like the whole flashback was he saw his dream car when he was young on a bicycle. He saw it in like a neighborhood and then kept riding away, and then you see it like in the
Yeah.
mirror just slowly getting farther away. So like little things like that, I'm trying to like not be like, oh, what's like the sexiest shot, but like, oh, like what's the shot that'll like actually tell the story? Because once you
Right.
see the shot matches, you're like, oh, that's him. He's got to be driving the car, because it makes sense. Like, why would they shoot the same angles of everything? You know what I mean?
Right. Totally.
So little like nuances like that.
And I think that that's something that I always try and do. Like if I'm ever confused on a shoot, or I'm like, I don't know what I should get. I don't know. Have I gotten enough B-roll? Have I gotten enough like whatever? And I'm like, wait, what adds value to the story? What is the story? How do I convey that with the camera and the tools that I have? And that usually helps me drop into it gives me the parameters for like a more creative space.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that's the difference for sure.
Yeah.
So I had some just like kind of like spitball questions. I thought
Sure.
that I just
Sure.
wanted to learn about you a little bit.
Sure.
So if you could work with any director or DP, who would that be and why?
Yeah, I would say that French director Roman Gavras, because his style is like it really takes me back to my roots of skateboarding. Because dude, skate videos are gnarly. You know, you got like broken bones, you got like cops kicking you out. There's no rules. Like obviously there's tricks and stuff, but all these little vignettes of like what the fuck, like a homeless guy with a prosthetic eye, like I don't know, like crazy shit. And he has this like really gritty vibe as a director. Yet he's refined it over the years, and it's like a sexy grit. I don't know how else to describe it, and I really love that. So I would love to work with him.
I gotta check out his work.
Yeah. I'll send you some links after this. It's really phenomenal. Yeah.
Awesome. Do you have any directors in mind, you think?
Well, he's a director. There's a.
Oh, he is.
there's
Oh, I thought he was a DP.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, there's a. Yeah, he's a director. DPs? As of right now, no, I honestly, man, I'm kind of like really excited about my own path right now. And that's not like to brag or anything like that. I'm not saying I'm the best. That's not at all what I mean. I'm just like getting a camera back in my hand again over the last couple of years, and I'm shooting my own stuff, and it feels really good. And a look that I really want to do, I want to take an Airy Mini LF, and I want to put like the widest anamorphic I can on there and shoot some really gritty skateboard shit back in New
Fuck
York.
it, become fucking DP some shit, man.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
You
Yeah.
could definitely do it.
It's time, man. It's time to make that shift. So that's
Yeah.
kind of where I'm at. Yeah.
Fucking
Yeah.
awesome. I guess the most valuable relationship you would say would be your mentor, right? Who brought you onto the music videos at first, which kind of like skyrocketed everything.
Yeah, I would say mentor wise, Zach Wolf, hands down. Hands down. Yeah. Yeah, look him up. He's phenomenal.
Awesome. Yeah, I think like you said, you know, you fucking get in the right space, the right time with the right person, and it just fucking it just clicks. Things just you know work.
Yeah.
Cool. So I think this is like a very common experience for like freelancers or even like people on set, I feel like. when you're on shoot, you see like something's like wrong with like either the client is like sitting or the talent's sitting in like an awkward way, or like something's wrong with like their appearance. Like, how do you like go about like being like, oh, like without being like a fucking dickhead? I mean, like,
Yeah.
let's like fix your shit because it's all fucked up.
Totally. Tony, this is such a good question. You play to their strengths and you play to their vanity. Like, oh, hey, you know what would look really good? If we just moved your hair just a little bit, oh my God, it's casting and lighting perfectly. You look great. You know what I mean? So you give them like positive encouragement. Like we're not shooting products on a table, we're shooting human beings. And let's be real, most of the people who are in front of the lens, you know, might have some vanity issues.
Yeah.
So if you can play to that, and if maybe you're shooting something humble, like some school teachers or whatever, and they don't have vanity issues, you know, just the positivity, just the like, oh my God, this is gonna be so great. Like, you look so good. Like, just focus on the positive, even if it looks like shit. You know, like, oh, that you can't turn like that. It's gonna look like shit. Like, oh, I'm gonna lose you. Just try and focus on the positive of what you're doing and convey that, because morale on set is like everything, especially with talent. You know?
I feel like some people won't even like do it because they feel like awkward. They'll be like, they'll just shoot it and it doesn't look right just because they don't want to make that change. Not like for on set. I feel like on set stuff's more serious. But like freelance stuff, I'll be like, I'll like see someone's work and be like, dude, why didn't you like tell her like fix her hair or some shit?
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's such an easy thing. It's like, you're the director on set. You know,
Right.
like if you're a freelancer, you're in charge. You know, it's
Totally.
you're fucking doing some interviews or whatever. You're fucking. We had this problem. We were doing interviews for this documentary on this comic book store, and it was funny. It was this boom mic actually, and it's staticky. Like, I don't know why. It's got like some fucking sort of So it was setting like above the head here, out of frame, but her hairs would like gravitate up towards the mic, like her little hairs.
Oh, whoa. Oh, like static electricity.
Yeah. So, dude, we spent so much time trying to fix this, but it was like the dumbest issue to ever happen, where it was like taking an unreasonable amount of time to fix. Like little, like it was like little hairs, and you could see it because the hair like caught all those hairs just standing up.
Oh my God.
So we had to get like freaking water spray. My friend who was helping me out on set, he had like a little spray bottle. We were trying to like pat down to like, you know, make sure the part wasn't like fucking, dude. We were trying to like rub the fucking mic to get all the static off of it.
Right.
But eventually we got to like a workable spot. There was like a little bit, but we just decreased the hairline a little bit so it wasn't as noticeable. But it was the funniest thing ever. I never thought that would be a problem, but we had to point it out because she would see the footage at the end. She doesn't know what's wrong.
Right.
She'd be like, why the fuck was that? You're fucked up. Like, why didn't he say anything?
Right.
So it's honestly just better to just have that little bit of uncomfortable moment and just
100%.
fix it, and have a better image overall.
100%. Yeah, there's a couple times early, you know, that's another reason why I really love Zach, because he was bold. Like, he would tell people, you know, and he's working with people who are bold. Like, these hip hop artists don't like to get told what to do, but they trust Zach. So it was kind of like this, like, he's like, no, like, oh yeah, this is it. Like this, like, oh, look this way, whatever. And it's like the little tweaks. I was timid when I first started, and it suffered. And the pain of embarrassment was stronger than the fear of being awkward next time. You know what I mean?
I like that. And I like that actually. Yeah, I mean, it just takes, you're going to have it. You're going to have those moments.
Yeah.
You just have to you get to a point where you're like, all right, fuck this shit. I want to like actually make some, like, not be like so like reserved when I'm doing shit. Because I used to be that way too. But I was just like, fuck it, dude. Like, what's the worst that can happen, bro? Just fucking say it and just like fix it and you're good.
Yeah.
You know?
I will say you got to do it confidently though.
Yeah.
Like, if you're timid, you're gonna give them that energy.
They'd be like, oh, is he really, like, is that really right? You got to be, like, convinced you're saying, like, that's, you know, we got to do it this way.
Can I give you an example? Can I tell you one story?
Yeah.
So we were working on this T.I. music video, You Hear Me. It's all blue. And we had shot, like, a good chunk of the video. And then T.I. wanted to go change his outfit. And I was told, I was talking to Zach, I was like, oh man, if he changes, I knew I was editing this video. And I was like, if he changes his outfit, it's the continuity is going to be all off, man. We're going to have to do like, it's not going to look right. He's like, and Zach was like, fine, you go tell him. I was like, all right, a little like, just like,
Yeah, yeah.
first, one of my first real big jobs. I'm like, yeah, I'll go talk to T.I. and I'll tell him what to do. I was like, yo, T.I., I don't think you should change that shirt or whatever. He's like, man, who the fuck are you? He's like, who the fuck
Really?
is this? He's like, and he's punking me out in front. He's got like 20 goons, like smoking joints, like eating, hanging out in the studio, And I get punked out in front of T.I. and he like raises his voice a bit, And he turns around and goes to the green room. I start to leave the studio. And the goons are laughing. Everybody who's on set is like, I look like the biggest like dumbass. And as soon as I get to the studio door, I put my hand on the door and I'm like, nah, dude, I'm not going down like this. I'm not going down like this. So I turn around and I go to the green room to talk to T.I. And he's like, making a drink or getting some food or whatever. And I go up to him and was like, yo, Tip, that shirt you got on right now with the blue and the way we've lit everything looks fucking awesome. It looks fucking hard as fuck. It looks really good. Obviously, you do whatever you want. I'm just letting you know that shit is like perfect. He's like, all right, appreciate that. And he didn't change his outfit. So,
Wow.
you
Wow.
gotta find a way to play to their strengths.
That's fucking like you said, like the whole vanity thing, and like you gotta fucking like you just reword it and it was fine. You didn't fucking take it like that.
But I came out timid, unsure of myself,
Yeah.
a little intimidated by this dude. He's a fucking G. Like his presence is bigger than he is. Like,
Yeah.
when he walks in the room, you feel it. He's a dope motherfucker, And
It's good you went back then.
oh yeah, I'll never forget that moment. I got to the studio door and I touched the doorknob handle. I was like, nah, I'm not going out like this. I went back in. I'm like, I'm either gonna get fired and kicked off set or I'm gonna win. And so I went in with the attitude like, all right, I got this. We can do this, Yeah.
Yeah. How did you feel about it after Zach when you came back and you're like, yeah, I fucking did it, like because he told you to tell him.
Yeah, well, Zach was like, I'm not going to tell T.I. what to do. He's going to do whatever he's going to do, and we're going to have to play ball with it, And some talent is like that, man. Like, some talent is like, I mean, dude, a lot of these rappers are like 3, 4, 5, 6 hours late to set. Like, it's common. So, like, we've already lit. Yeah, dude. Like, we've lit everything. We're just sitting around. And now, I mean, look, that's like 4 hours of overtime, or whatever.
So
but
yeah,
still,
you bill them for that, right?
of course. But at the same time, I don't know. There's just this air of, I'm doing you a favor by showing up. And so you have to kind of play to that. So,
Yeah. I mean, it's all like, you have to, you wouldn't know, I guess what I'm trying to say is you wouldn't know all this if you didn't go through like the fucking, the getting like punked out and then going back or like getting like stood up for like a couple hours before he comes. Like you have to like, once you get through those things, like now you're like, all right, I know how it is. Like I can work through this with a different like scope.
Yeah.
Cause I don't even know these things, cause I've never worked on like things like that, but, yeah, it's cool to have that insight.
I still think the principle is you can apply it to anything, though.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like, don't come in timid, come in confident and kind and like uplift the person. I think that applies to if you're shooting a big hip hop artist or like a humble school teacher. Like it doesn't really matter. If you come with confidence, it's really important on set for everyone to like talent to feel comfortable. And when you come with confidence, it means you're serious, you know what you're doing. And if you're kind, then they can kind of relax a little. They don't have to put up a defense because it's pretty awkward to be on camera, man. Like I'm on camera now, but like I'm not usually on camera. I'm behind the lens.
Yeah.
And
putting you on the spotlight here.
Yeah. Thanks.
Do you have like a weird project idea that you've never pitched, but you just have like this idea? You're like, dude, this is fucking great, but like it's so out there.
Yeah, there's there's two ideas I have in my back pocket. One I actually want to do, and it's not that out there. But the other one that's pretty out there is so one of the things I'm interested in, just like in life, is like indigenous cultures around the world. And there's a lot of like remote cultures that I just find really fascinating. And I don't know how the fuck I get any funding for that. I don't know how I'd speak these languages. I don't know how I'd make any of this happen. But I think there's a lot of ancient wisdom that our modern age could use. And I think it'd be just cool to try and marry the two worlds from like, different places. So yeah.
Would you like that'd be like sort of like a documentary style piece?
Yeah,
Or
I think so. And I would love to do it like a documentary with like interviews and stuff like that, but then also kind of in that way of like Koyaanisqatsi or Baraka. Have you seen these films? They're really cool. They're basically like documentary art pieces where there'll be like a I don't know, like a 400 millimeter lens on like the nose of a plane for like 15 minutes as the sun is like making these ripples, or like it'll be these indigenous tribes like drumming with like this really slow dolly through the jungle. Like I like tons of work went into these like really epic shots. Like check out Baraka, it's phenomenal. And then there's a series, Koyaanisqatsi, Nakoikatsi, and I forget the other one, but there's a trilogy.
I love like elemental cinematography, if that makes sense. Like the getting real like close and like almost like marrying like a little object in like life, like water. Like I'm doing a film on water and like
Oh, cool.
the forms of fucking water. It's like it's not directly about water, but the water is a symbol throughout the story of the person's arc, like the challenges and how he views water and like what the water means. And like at the end, he learns that the water is an opportunity for growth and challenge. So there's like a dual edge, because water can be violent, but also vital to your life. So, but I'm doing a lot of cool cinematography with like snow and like crashing waves and like fucking, and like getting real close to shit. Like I have these macro extender tube things. Yeah. And you get fucking like the lens is like literally this close to the fucking subject, and you're getting like, and it's like dirty. It's not sharp. It's like nice and like fucked up and shit. Like it looks sick. So I love that stuff. I don't know. I think that's my style. Like having like this really like getting real close to shit and like and like seeing the beauty and like water, but it's like it's crashing away, but it's backwards. Like I reverse it and like 120.
Oh, cool.
It's like the water's retreating from the land back into the fucking ocean and shit. Like
awesome.
I love
Super
I
cool.
love that stuff.
Yeah. I would highly suggest watching Baraka. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a fucking sucker for like good ass cinematography like that. So, do you have a sort of like pet peeve on set, or like a type of shot that you see people do wrong all the time, and you're like, fuck, dude, like why, like, you know what I mean? Like you ever have that?
Yeah, I have. Okay, so it's kind of a mix. It's kind of both. It's one of my favorite shots, and it's also one of the most overused. And it could be done right, and it's the best thing in the world. And whatever is basically flares, I would say, like the overuse of flares. But I love it. I'm a sucker for it. Like the bouquet, the way that the optics take in the different, it makes it look like a prism with the rainbow. I love flares. Where I think it's overdone and like I've had enough of it is with like the blue anamorphic flares.
Yeah.
Like the horizontal ones. Like I'm just like, not another Michael Bay piece, not another like anamorphic
Sci-fi.
blue flare. Yeah, why do we need a sci-fi look in this hip hop music video? I don't think it works. Like just use like a good prime lens and backlight it and use that. I don't want to see this blue flare,
It's funny because like it's almost earned its signature in a genre. Like, how does that even happen? Like, it's a sci-fi thing to have like those flares. It's like, who stated that was a fact?
Right.
Oh, anamorphic flares, but it is. I'm just like, where
Yeah.
did that come from? It's just like, oh, that's sci-fi flares.
I think it's just because it's so weird. Like, because, anamorphic lenses are basically shooting like this. So if you look at
Yeah.
the image, everybody looks like really tall and skinny. Then it's called de-squeezed, right? You de-squeeze it. And that's why the flares are all fucking weird, because you're taking this and you're de-squeezing it. So instead of being more of like this, it's more horizontal. Um, I don't know. I don't know why it's blue. I'm just kind of over it. I don't think we need any more in the world. There's enough out there.
You know what's crazy? I see people put artificial anamorphic
I've
flares
seen
into their
this
shit.
too. I've seen this too.
Like not even on a fucking anamorphic. They like Da Vinci has like this lens reflection
Yes.
fucking add on, and like you
Yes.
could mask it out and put it in like
Yeah.
the bright portions, and like why, dude? Like it doesn't need
I know.
it.
I know.
It's fucking whack, and it's like doesn't belong. Because like I understand, like I wouldn't even like use anamorphic for that reason. I just like it because you can have like a 35 millimeter, you know, compression, but have a way wider like scope
Totally.
of field. That's the
Totally.
real benefit, not the
Totally.
fucking flares. Like there's an
Right.
actual like net
Right.
benefit, not fucking. Obviously, those are cool. Like don't get me wrong.
Totally.
But I love the Helios flares on those fucking lenses are sick. I think
Nice.
there's so the Helios 442, like that fucking tiny Russian lens.
Yeah,
But there's
yeah, yeah.
Also the ones they used on Dune, the Soviet fucking T something
Okay.
lineup of lenses. I don't know. But Dune Part 2 used those lenses, and they're very like dirty and shit. And the flares are fucking like they're not like it's like a fucking sun bleak. Like it's like I
Yeah.
don't even know how to pronounce fucking say it, but it's like a very very specific lens flare. And those are cooler, I think, than fucking anamorphics.
Totally. We used so one of the things that you mentioned, I did this film I worked on this film called To the Night, and we had this lens that the optics were super clean, like right in the middle, and then as it got wider, it was more distorted. And we were shooting kind of like a dream sequence, flashback sequence, so it totally was the right lens choice. The flares were sick though. They would be like multiple flares, and they'd be more bokeh'd, like more out of focus as they went, and they'd be different colors almost. So like depending on how you shoot, like yeah, I don't know. I love flares. Yeah, it was sick.
There's also like those lenses that fucking like will move out and like
Mm-hmm.
like I don't even know, like they use it for like watch. I saw someone use it for like a watch photography thing. I don't know what the benefit is, but like you get really close to the watch and like you can angle the lens in a certain way to like I don't even know what that would do. I guess just like cut reflection. I don't know. Like
Well, so there's two different. So this comes from tilt shift lenses. You know what a tilt shift is?
I probably do. I just don't know like the clinical term.
So basically, a tilt shift lens is two lenses like this, and you can manipulate it up, down, left, right, this way, that way. And what that does is there's a sweet spot of focus, and then the rest is out of focus. So it's commonly used on like on the roof of a building, down on people, and you shift it so the plane of focus is like just on the crosswalk of the people, and then everybody looks like they look like they're toys, basically, because of the perspective. And tilt shift lenses are really cool. Then there's like a prosumer version of this called Lens Baby. And Lens Baby is also like a lens that you can move around. So one part of the optic stays on the body. The other part you can kind of move around, and then it'll change the point of focus. They're pretty cool to play with.
So it's like almost because regular clinical lenses are just like this whole plane is in focus here, but like a tilt shift, you're saying like I could get like just this in focus, and
yeah,
everything's out
by
of
moving.
focus.
Yeah, it's like it actually. If this is horizontal, this part of the lens actually moves up and down and left, right, whatever, and you can twist it and lock it into a position. So it's more common with photography, but it's cool. It's a cool effect.
That makes sense. I guess for the watch thing, then maybe they want to get like an element of the watch in focus. Cool. So I want to ask, what do you edit on? Like, what programs do you use for like, let's say, the stuff you're doing right now?
I've been using Premiere Pro for years, and I edit on Premiere Pro. I also find that the Lumetri color built in is pretty damn good for pretty much all I want to do. If I want to really go in on coloring, I'll pull it in Resolve though, for sure.
Yeah, everyone's like shifted to Resolve. Not like everyone, but like there's been a trend like in the past like I would say year or two where people are like pushing Resolve.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what got me into it because I didn't start this much long ago. I was probably like 2023 really like I started really
Mm-hmm.
taking it because like so I had an opportunity to choose like what editing program and like everyone was saying Resolve but like it
Yeah.
does have problems like Resolve with longer timelines and like but
Mm-hmm.
the grading is awesome. I just think everything else could be improved and Adobe
They're
has the cake in that.
Yeah, they're grading. I mean, I've been using Resolve for years, but never as an editing software, only as a coloring software. That's what it was originally designed for. It was coloring software, and then over the years, they've been pushing more towards being competing for video editing. Again, it's 100 ways to skin a cat, right? Like you could use iMovie, you could use this, you could use that. They're gonna
Final
have
Cut
the limit.
Pro.
Final Cut Pro, CapCut on your phone, whatever, you
Yep.
know.
Yeah, no, for
Uh,
real. I mean, like
I
people
mean,
like to shit on it, but
no, dude, you
fucking,
can
it's
get
good.
you can get really dope stuff from CapCut. I'm not gonna shit on it, and also I'm not
Yeah.
gonna shit on somebody who uses iMovie. I just know that like for the levels of refinement that I want in an editing software, I personally don't think. I feel that Premiere Pro is offers more as a professional editing software than DaVinci Resolve does as an editing software. I think Resolve offers way more in color grading and is way more user friendly for color grading, and the nodes are so sick and there's so many different ways to just really get exactly what you want
I just
for
don't
color.
like the whole. I don't like using two programs. Like I like to just
Right,
have it all in one.
right.
So like that's why I'm like using DaVinci for everything because like I don't want to have to export it all the log from fucking Premiere and then
Oh, it's a pain.
cut the clips, auto
It's
cut
a
all the
pain.
clips. It's like I don't know, but I do find Premiere does have a lot more AI features that are helpful. Like they have like a AI extend. You can like extend fucking clips now.
I've seen
It's
that.
crazy.
It's
Or like extend
wild.
a song. You could take a song and like extend it out if you need it.
Yeah,
It's like
I
what the
saw that.
fuck?
It's
Like
nuts.
that's crazy shit.
And then they're also their latest update with the vocal enhancer is really good. I've been really pleased with that.
I
You
use
know?
the online plugin, the podcast enhancer. It's like free. If you could do like 10 hours a day for free.
Oh
And
wow.
I plug in like most of my shit on there. Like if I'm doing like a talking head or like I mean with the boom mic now I just use the audio from here. But if I'm like
Yeah.
laved up or something, I want it to sound a little more refined. I'll throw it into podcast enhance,
Yeah.
and it sounds fucking great. Like it's so
Nice.
crazy. Like I used to, because this is like my 6th episode now. When I used to do in the summer when I started it, I would just have like these shitty fucking like lens. They're called Lens Go. That's the brand. It's like these little
Yeah, yeah.
wireless labs, and they did not sound great, bro. I plugged in the whole thing to fucking enhance, and the audio sounds great. I used it for the whole fucking 3 hours,
Yeah.
and it was great. Like I'm like, yo, this is fucking game changing. Like this really
Totally.
changes shit. It's moving so
Totally.
fast. Cool. So I mean, I think yeah, Resolve's great. I think both of them are great. It's just
Yeah.
about like taste and what you value. So
I mean, look, I've been using Resolve, or I've been using Resolve for a while, but I've been using Premiere Pro for 15 years when Final Cut 7 turned into Final Cut X. And I even taught Premiere Pro classes at college. So for me to like learn a whole new ecosystem for editing when I already know basically everything I could possibly want to know about Premiere, I don't know.
yeah,
Across the round tripping sucks. I get it, but besides that, like I like where I'm
yeah.
at.
Again, every program has its quirk. So
Yeah,
like
exactly.
DaVinci has plenty of fucking quirks too. So
Yeah, I mean Premiere shuts down too. Don't worry. Like
yeah.
you better have the autosave on.
I think I have to update my MacBook because I have an M1 Mac, and I don't know. Like I've been working with like I used to just throw A7 III footage in ProRes was fine.
Yeah.
But now with the FX3 or like I'll be thrown like FX6 footage or red footage and like dude, it just it's definitely the M1 chip. It just doesn't handle it that well.
Yeah.
So working on bigger projects, I think a lot of people forget to upgrade their actual like fucking hardware, like what your edit's
Yeah.
on. So
Well, another thing you can do, man. I don't know if do you use like a proxy workflow where you make proxies? And
So
then, yeah,
I'm aware of that. I don't use it just because I'm negligent, and I think I should. um,
honestly, it's one of the things like for me, it's like if you turn that into part of your like your rap, if you will, where it's like, all right, tonight I'm gonna you can figure this out in like 5 minutes how to make proxies, and then you just relink them. But if you just do that, it's like, all right, before I go to bed, I'm just gonna run these proxies. Boom, there's all the footage. You wake up in the morning, you could just edit so fast, and then all you have to do is relink the media, and then boom, you have the master files.
that's through Media Encoder, right? And you
Yeah, you can
just
do it through Media
yeah.
Encoder. You can do it
I
through,
think I've done
or
that
you can do
before.
it. You can do it in Resolve too, though. You can make
Oh,
proxies
okay.
in Resolve too. And so, like, let's say you do ProRes LT, and then your computer, the Macs like ProRes because it's Apple codec, and so just boom, you just edit so fast. And then for the final tweaks and the final push, like you relink the original clips.
Gotcha. And
Yeah, check
does
into
it
that.
like does it auto? I feel like if you did it in the program, it would auto like when
Yes.
you go to export, it just auto uses the final
Yeah.
clips that
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
source.
Exactly. So
That's
you
cool.
edit with the proxies. You can fly through that, and then just relink the media at the end and export it. Yeah.
I think yeah. Again, people like to focus on the gear too. Like I'm like, sometimes I find myself in that rut. Sometimes I think I'm pretty good with like the cameras and stuff. Like all right, don't worry about just use the camera to the best of your ability.
Right.
Like I just said with the Mac, I'm like, I think I need to upgrade a Mac. But you're like, no, you could just use proxies and it's fine. So
Totally.
it's all the technique.
Well, that's
Um,
another thing too. Is like I'm down here in Guatemala. Like if my M2 computer went down, I don't know what I'd use, and I would 100% make proxies if I had a
mhm,
computer that didn't have the computing power. You
yeah.
know. So
hmm So I have a few just like final
sure,
closing
sure.
questions. On this is what I asked everyone that comes on. So I like to hear the different answers from these.
Sure.
Um, what do you think has been like the biggest piece of criticism that you've received in your work that's helped you the most?
Yeah. Uh, so I like I said, I've been passionate about filmmaking, and I feel like I've always had kind of an eye for it, but not to. I don't know. I feel like I'm a bit talented, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Let's just say, and but the problem is that I haven't always worked hard, and so one of my, I kind of just like to live the life and do the thing and have the fun and not put in the work sometimes. And something I wish I had learned earlier on, or something that somebody said to me early on was, hard work beats talent when talent refuses to work hard. And that like really stuck with me. It's like, yeah, you can have your passion, but like put in the work so that you can really, really let your passion sing. And that really changed the way that really changed the way I approach filmmaking. Is working hard.
yeah. I think
Yeah.
yeah, like tying into our early conversation, just like shooting stuff, releasing it, whether it's not perfect, and just work, keep
Mm,
working, like put out shit, basically. Fucking whether it's like not to your standards all the way or it is
right.
like just stop overthinking, just release
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Um, where do you see yourself going in like the next 5 years? Do you have like a vision? You said you're big on the vision and stuff, so I
Yeah.
want to hear
Yeah,
that.
yeah. For me, before I have this dope job now, like I love hanging out with musicians all day and making little tiny desk videos, and it's great. My vision for the next 5 years though is to really start making that transition to DP. Like the contacts that I have, there's rental houses who are like, you can rent whatever you want for free. We've known you for years. Just pay for the insurance. I'm like, yo, I'll do a weekend shoot and like on my own time and my own pace, building my portfolio, my DP portfolio. So that would be the
Mm,
dream. And then again, like we were saying, I want to get known for what I do versus like being like a jack of all trade, or I can shoot your baby video or I can shoot your hip hop video. I want to get known for like my style. And I want to just kind of work on that in the next 5 years. So
that's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, I think I forgot to mention this before when you were saying like not being a jack of all trades. I always tell people always tell me like, oh, like shoot weddings, like you're gonna get so
Hmm.
much better. But I'm like, dude, I don't want to fucking shoot weddings. You know what I mean? I don't like. It's not my thing. You know what I mean?
I
But
get
people
it.
always like, oh, it'll teach you so much about like filmmaking. What do you
I
think
mean,
about that?
That's a really good question because I actually did shoot weddings when I was in
Okay.
college. When I was in college, I shot weddings for two main reasons. Number one reason, my man, is the money. I got paid really well to shoot weddings, and you come up with your formula. I would wirelessly log the bride and groom for the vows. I'd hire a second shooter, so the vows are like taken care of. Then the rest of the time, I'm just like running around with the gimbal in slow motion. Like it's not too crazy. You know what I mean? I'm oversimplifying this, obviously. Come on,
Yeah.
but it was good money, and everybody's usually in a good mood. I've had a couple, probably shot 15, at least 15 weddings. And there's been a couple that were, a little crunchy, but for the most part, everybody's like, it's one of the happiest days of their life. And it's good vibes and really good money. And the reason
Yeah.
why good vibes and good money are great because I just paid off my camera body. I just paid off my lens. I got extra money in my pocket to work on stuff I want to work on, and that really worked for me while I was in college.
Mm,
So, yeah.
gotcha. Yeah, I always hear people saying that, like weddings, they just teach you also just to be like a good thinker on your feet, reacting to like different
Yeah.
circumstances or like, time crunches or whatever.
I don't know if I learned much from weddings. I'll be honest.
Mm,
Personally, I saw it as a job that was more the financial side that I needed
yeah.
to get to the next level.
I feel that way with grad pictures because I do a lot of those at
Yeah,
Hofstra.
sure,
So yeah, I don't really like doing those because it's kind of
sure,
like very run of the mill and like I'm not very big into photography right now.
sure.
But I mean, I get people that ask me to do it, so I'm like, hey, like, and it's good money. You could charge like per person like a good
Right,
amount because
right.
it's also a big milestone for them. Like just like a wedding, you're
Mm-hmm.
graduating school. You do that once, you're gonna pay a premium for pictures of it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, you know what? I did learn from weddings. One time, one of the wireless lavs went down during the vows.
wow. What did you
So
do?
oh, dude, I was freaking out. I was like, fuck, what am I gonna do? And I was like, all right, be positive. Hey guys, so unfortunately one of the laws went out. And the guy was like, oh, okay, no worries. I'm like, wow, he didn't even bat an eyelash. I was like, how about this? What if I came over, I'll bring a microphone, you can just kind of lip sync them and I'll just throw it in there. He's like, sure, no problem. And as much as I was like, felt super awkward, I felt like I would never want to do this. I would be so pissed
Yeah.
if this happened. The guy was super cool about it. We actually had a good time. I went over to his house. I brought a nice mic. I had him say his vows and stitched it in.
Wow.
I don't know if everybody would dig that, but I got pretty
Yeah.
lucky.
Yeah. I mean, dude,
You
I
gotta
think,
do something.
yeah. I think one of the great sayings also is like success is like you get to success by failing more than others. Like you just keep
Totally.
going through like failing and like
Totally.
now you know what I mean? You double check the
Totally.
labs and shit. So like
That never
all those
happened
little
ever
things.
again. I'll just put it like
Exactly.
that. No.
Yeah.
So,
Because you feel the gravity of that mistake
yeah,
like
dude.
firsthand.
Yeah.
I've had that.
Yeah.
I've had not that, but like similar things happen with either audio or maybe like I've never had a lot of people like say they forget to like roll the cameras. I'm like, that's crazy. Like not forgetting to roll, like or they'll be out of sync. Like they'll be recording when they're not recording, and then they'll click it, and it'll
Yeah,
actually
right.
like stop, and then they
Right.
like how the fuck I don't. That's like
I,
crazy to me.
dude, all the years I've been on set, all the times I've had a camera in my hand, all the big sets I've been on, all the small sets I've been on, shit happens, man.
Yeah.
And it's like, I know in the film industry in New York where I'm in Local 600, the camera union and all that stuff, like there's like no room for error. Like don't mess up, But like, dude, people mess up. Shit happens. Like not that often, but it still happens,
Hmm.
you know? Uh, and the double roll thing is the thing. Like sometimes they'll hit the roll button, like the record button, and then they'll hit it twice because it didn't look like it worked, and then it just cuts, so they miss
Yeah.
the whole take.
That's what I love
You
about the
know.
FX3. It's got the little tally. So like right now, I'm like making
Mm.
sure. I always look over at it, and I
Yeah,
see
yeah, yeah.
it's got
Right,
a front. It's got the front tallies. I love it.
right.
Making sure it's like I don't even have to look at the scratch. Just be like, all right, it's red. All right, I'm looking back here.
Yeah,
Or I could see the red like in my fucking corner and be like,
but
you know,
I know, but my level of awareness for that kind of stuff is like at an all-time high because there's been times in which I've double hit record or like I didn't actually hit record. I'm like, you know, I don't
Hmm.
know. It's like you're saying though. It's like mistakes are growth, man. Mistakes
Yeah.
are the top dogs have made a lot of mistakes. I promise you that. You
Oh,
know.
absolutely. This might sound like a loaded question, but
Yeah.
what keeps you going? Like, I know it's like a very like, maybe it takes a while to answer that, but like, I just want to know like what keeps you waking up and doing this stuff?
Yeah, it's storytelling, man. It's storytelling. It's conveying emotion. It's the reaction that I see in other people, but I'm really doing this for myself. When I do videos, dude, like for example, when I edit music videos or I've worked on stuff, I watch that shit like 30 fucking times after I'm done. You
Mm.
know, like I know it's a bit obsessive and I don't think that everybody does that. But I like what I do. I like to see this stuff. I like to check the framing. I like to check the lighting. I like to check the color. I obsess over that stuff. And to me, it's a healthy obsession. Um, but honestly, at the core is, I do love sharing it with other people, but it's more about, as an artist, checking in with myself. It makes me happy. So if I'm happy, then I'm happy, right?
And it's going to be reflected in the work too,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah,
Cool. I guess just to end, where could we find you on socials or anywhere?
yeah. I am on Instagram. My name is Ryan Winsor. That's Windsor with no D, so RyanWinsor. And that's pretty much the only social I got right now. Yeah.
I saw it said like on IMDb that one of the projects you were credited with the D in it, but like it like knew that it wasn't correct or something.
Yeah, this has been happening my whole life. Yeah.
That's fucking. That's so stupid because you know what? You got actors that got like mad complex names,
Totally.
and they're
Totally.
fucking
Totally.
perfect every time. Like I don't know, like Timothy Chalamet. Oh, you gotta have the accent on the E, and it's double
Totally.
E at the end, and the Timothy's like with the. It's not normal Timothy. It's like EE, and the
Yeah,
Sham. Like it's like, but you know, it's like you can't fucking get Windsor right.
I know.
That's
Dude, I've had plane
unbelievable,
tickets bought for me that were wrong. I've had paychecks that were wrong. I've
and it
had
works though.
call sheets that were wrong. I just go with it. I'm like,
Like the
I've
check's
cashed.
clear.
Yeah, dude, I cleared the check. The check cleared. Like,
Yeah.
same thing with the flight. I was like, I got hired to go shoot Art Basel in Miami, and they spelled my name wrong. I was like, well, I hope this works, and it did. It was fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm
Fuck
used
yeah,
to it.
dude.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate this, man. This has
Yeah,
been
man.
fucking awesome. Really happy we met in Canal Street and we
Yeah.
were able to talk more and stay connected on socials and
Totally.
I hope to stay connected in the future as well, man.
Same, Tony. It's been a pleasure. I love seeing what you're up to. And thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
It's always just such a like I never know how to end these podcast episodes. I'm always like, oh, it's a pleasure having you, and like, and I usually just cut it. But it's always like, how the fuck do you like? All right, guys, see you next time. I don't want to do that cheesy shit. Um, you know?
Have you seen that thing that's been going on? It's like, please stand by. Dur, dur, dur.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like, she's like, all right,
I
and just
yeah,
cut
I
and
don't.
go to
It's
that.
always like I never know how to end it, man. But then I'm like, who the fuck is watching this till the end? I hope some people.
Right.